What's up, everyone, and welcome to the Decepticon Lab. This your boy Freeze, and today we're gonna be talking about some of the problems that we have with the Scout class, which is kind of like an unofficial class of bots as far as Transformers Earth Wars goes. And if you stick around long enough, I'm also going to be introducing TFEW's newest combat bot for us on the con side. That's going to be Heartburn. And the question that I'm asking myself today is Heartburn going to be the fix for the Scout class? And I'll just give you a couple moments, think about some of the problems you have with some of these Scout class bots, and I'll do the same. So, and we can discuss it after this. I'll be right back. Alright, so before we get started, I want to go talk about who Space-Ape determined was a special class bot, or a Scout class bot, excuse me. So the Scout class is basically just a variation of the special class. And originally when playtesting started for this, we only had 5 bots, and the 5 bots that they had were Scrapnel, Counterpunch, Scavenger, C.O.M.B.A.T, and Runabout. And then some questions got asked around the playtester circle. The Autobot playtesters started asking, well, hey, what's up with Cheetor? And so then they added Cheetor and Black Arachnia to the bunch, in addition to BOMBSHELL and Flame War. And so, me personally, I'd rather see the Scout class just get added to the game as a special, and instead of just being special class, just have them as their own class. They joked around about it a little bit during the April Fool's joke that got played on us. But honestly, we probably should go to that. I think it will be beneficial because now we've got a combat bot in Heartburn that is going to be specific to them. And so a lot of the questions that I got throughout the week was like, well, who does it equip to? So these are the 8 bots that it can equip to on the screen. And honestly, when I think about this particular group of bots, they have a lot of problems. When I look at it, when I look at typically the type of attacks they have, they don't shoot over walls, and that's always an issue. They have a tendency to run into danger, just like when they start getting to backflipping and everything like that. A couple of the bots, they get themselves in some dangerous spots. Not necessarily a lot of high health, and for these guys, I'm not, usually some really awesome special attacks, but not anything that has a lot of high damage or high health, in a lot of cases. And like I said before, the range is a problem for a lot of them. And so when I look at a combat bot, one of the things I want to do is I want to have some decent range so it doesn't get itself into trouble. And so now I just want to kind of take a look at the new bot, at the new combat. And so there he is, that's Heartburn. And I'm actually gonna go to the 4-star for a second because I maxed the 5-star out, and so I want to get a good picture of what exactly he does. And so in this particular case, we've got bot that and this is at level 1 4-star, heals for 5% of damage dealt, and then every 7 seconds disables the target for 3 seconds. So we're talking about just having an electrical damage. You can see they got that in the blue just for you to have a stun damage as part of Heartburn's ability. And then you also get a damage boost. Now for this 4-star, right out the box is a 4% increase. And then you can see it goes up to 6, and then it's got a life drain element too. So it says you're gonna heal for that 5%, and that's for the 4-star straight out the box. So not a bad ability. When we first started playtesting, it started out as it had damage over time, fire damage, a life drain, and in addition to that, it had the stun beam, and it just got a little bit. It became a little bit too much. It became something where it's like, all right, well, now we're taking away time for the life drain, and the life drain wasn't good. And then it's taken away from the stun. And me personally, when I look at these combat bots, one of the things that I've been advocating for heavily is to have a combat bot that can stun. But I do think this addresses a couple of issues for some of the scout bots, because you don't want to lose the electrical damage, the stun part that a lot of these bots have. So that's first and foremost. And then when you get to bots like C.O.M.B.A.T, you can actually stun like an outpost bot, or you can stun different bots using that ability. And I didn't want to lose that. And what I saw was, because these scout class bots had a tendency to rush into danger, a lot of people were using combat bots like Crater Maker to try to keep those guys back, to try to manage those bots. So one of the things that we were looking for in playtest was to add a little range. So we'll take a look at Bombshell first. I've got Bombshell loaded up with the G1 core, and if you hadn't seen my video about that, and excuse the graphics up there, we got a little bit of stuff that the developers need to change on the test server, which I'm working out of today. But that is the G1 Bombshell core, and so that's the one that's going to allow you to have a defense hack buff in addition to the passive hack to outpost bots. So, and that is, it's in a buff for that for the duration of the passive hack. So I think these pair really, really well together, and I'll go run a play test for that real quick so you guys can see it too. So I'll go into zone 14 real quick, because this is not a team that I would use in battle. This is a team that I put together just for the purpose of this video. So we'll just do some onesies and twosies to try to see what it's gonna look like for each individual bot. And so I'm gonna take myself out the game screen, and then we will start off with, well, actually right now I've got 2 bots equipped. So I've got the 4-star equipped on Black Arachnia, and then I've got the 5-star on Bombshell. And so what I'm gonna do is try to clear a little bit of space with Black Arachnia. And I like Black Arachnia for this particular pairing, because of her ability that also does healing for her. So now she's gonna have element of healing while she's in her alternate form, in addition to while she's on normal attack. And I also like with this G1 core on Bombshell, because he's going to do his passive hack. You can see it works. It's working right now on Deathsaurus, and he's taking quite a bit of damage from Swoop right now, but he's also healing himself at the same time. So where Swoop normally would have taken him out, now he's healing himself, and now he's used his passive hack from his G1 core on Swoop. And then when Swoop is about to break out of it, he goes into a stun. So for this purpose, I think that it's a really, really good pairing for both Black Arachnia and Bombshell, even though I only ran the 4-star on, right out the box on Black Arachnia. I mean, it's relatively effective, and it's just an opportunity to give her double down on her healing. So when you want to go make like pairings as far as cores, power cores, then you can continue to use some of the ones you have been using. You can use your Rejuvenate if you don't have your prime cores. You can use Amalgamist prime core, Alchemist, different things like that to try to double down and really make something out of that healing factor. Alright, so we're going to move on, and we're going to move these combats to some more bots. So I'm going to let's go to Scrapnel. And when we go to Scrapnel, so we got to give him a power core too. So let's see. So I'll give him the 5-star this time. Alright, so there it goes. And I never actually got a chance. I never showed you guys what he looks like in just like the showroom. So I'll do that in a second as well. But I also want to give So I want to show off what it looks like with Alchemist Prime real quick, since we're already going to have a healing factor doing the normal attack. So I'll add that just for demonstration purposes. And one of the things that has been kind of bothering us when we've been talking about these Scout class bots, particularly with Shrapnel, is that Shrapnel, not only is he running the danger on the battlefield, but he has this nasty habit, particularly like in when dealing with the outpost, where he runs into melee combat situations, and that's not what he's supposed to be doing. There's been a lot of different players up there. I mean, even Sunstreak Waza made a video about, his Autobot counterpart Bumblebee and how that bot is broken, which I'm inclined to agree with. Since we're working on the Scout class bots, which I do think that with them trying to make this combat bot, I think they're trying to somewhat fix the Scout class so they're not constantly running upfield, getting themselves into danger. But that still doesn't change the fact that Shrapnel needs a fix. So hopefully that's something that's going to be in the works at some point. But at the same time, I will say I was pleased to say that this was a pretty good start. So I'm pretty pleased overall with how this came out. But do I think that this is the overall answer for the Scout class? That's to be determined. But I'm not 100% sold on that quite just yet. So in this particular case with Shrapnel, let's take a look at the range on this thing, because the range was really short. They had him continuing to be. Oops, that's Bombshell. I was wondering why his beam looked. So I'll let him do his thing. But let's look at Shrapnel here, and look at the range on this beam. So you get a couple of seconds of the stun, and then he just continues to just heal himself. And I'll drop counterpunch in there as well, since he's got the 4-star core. Now with Shrapnel, one of the things, the advantages, is you can continue to use him for the purpose of his special ability stun, in addition to the stun that's coming from this beam. And the one thing that I like about the stun coming from the combat bot, is that it does stun outpost bot, as well. So the outpost bots can stun, and that's one of the things that I don't want to lose when I think about these Scout class. Because one of the reasons, and I always cringe when I see it, is I hate seeing people use like Crater Maker on these bots just for the sole purpose of trying to manage the bot. Like, that's just not the way that. I mean, it works, but you shouldn't have to force your way into managing the bot because it's so erratic. And so that's one of the things that I've been. That was a huge focal point for us as playtesters, is to keep that ranged ability. So I want to take. So I feel like Shrapnel died pretty quickly on that one. So let's take a look at his stats. Did I pass him already? So I know with Counterpunch, he's got, for a Scout class bot and a 4-star, he's got pretty decent health, and he's got okay damage with the use of the combat. So when you take a look at him, yeah, that combat's adding a little bit of damage to it. But then when we look at Shrapnel, yeah, he's got it. Okay health, and I think the rationale is that he's going to use this EMP bomb, low cost ability, and get himself out of a lot of trouble. But so these guys aren't my top picks for this combat bot, but it does work, to try to help keep them out of a little bit of trouble. So overall, I think it's an improvement, but it's not enough for me to double down on them just yet. with the combat bot, even though I do like the combat bot itself. Alright, so I'm going to remove Heartburn from Scrapnel, and I'm going to move on to my next couple of bots. So I'll move on to C.O.M.B.A.T, and we'll look at him. Now, C.O.M.B.A.T I actually like this pairing with, because C.O.M.B.A.T has a decent amount of health, and I got most of these guys bumped up to level 61, just so that's, for me, that's the time period where I feel like these bots become usable. And you know, if I'm going to use a bot in war, that's usually when I'm going to do it. And yeah, he's got a decent amount of damage on top of having his EMP shock tower. So I'll give him the 5-star. I'll give Flame War the 4-star. And while I'm in here, I'll actually give the 4-star a little bit. I'll spend some combat spark on him. You know, I can't just sit up there on 15 million. I just wanted you guys to be able to see what it started with from the very beginning of the 4-star, since that's what most people are going to be more likely to see on their when this thing is available for purchase, for purchase out of the bundles. So you're more likely to see 4 stars, 3 stars, stuff like that. So might as well get a good look at that one as well. Now, when we first started testing these bots, because this question did come to me yesterday, one of the questions was, with Flame War, would it work? Would the combat bot work with a special ability? So when we first started testing, this did work with the special ability. That was a bug that SpaceApe said was unintended. So honestly, we took it away. I did ask the question. So if you want to be mad at someone, be mad at me about it. But I did ask that question because it just didn't seem right. Like, we had bots that were never dying, and I was like, bro, that's gonna get nerfed. I don't want to take that chance of letting the bot get nerfed. So, but yeah, at the same time, I tried running Flame War a couple of times yesterday. I didn't really like the feel for it, with one exception, and I'll show you guys this depending on the layout of this base. But Flame War is one of those bots we use pretty much for sack strategy. And well, this base is probably not gonna be good for it, but I won't show it now. But one thing that I was trying to do is, sometimes where you want to go use her range, and she does have pretty wide range. So one of the things I like with the EMP effect on here is to try to inch her up a little bit closer, knowing that you were going to be able to have a life drain, and knowing that you were going to use that 3-second EMP. Now the problem is, these guys still don't, as we said, they don't always have like a overwhelming amount of damage, and so sometimes these guys will, as you see Flame War doing now, target walls. That's a little bit of a problem. Now, it might not be as much of a problem when you actually have an active team running, but it is kind of a pain in the butt to have a bot that's just sitting there attaching themselves to walls. But like I was saying earlier, when you want to inch one of these bots forward, a sack bot, then you can get them to the range where you can pop those outposts, like as I did here. Got rid of a couple of things over there on the right side. Let Flame War do her thing. And in this particular case, I'll just follow up with C.O.M.B.A.T, and he starts making his way to the top. Stuns Cheetor there, and now I can go ahead and drop his shock tower to allow him to continue to advance the battlefield. He'll just keep attacking Brainstorm there, and he'll just continue to advance, stuns Deathsaurus. So I really like this on C.O.M.B.A.T because he can protect himself a little bit with his special ability, in addition to protecting himself by using, Heartburn as a combat bot. And it's going to be one of those things that he can keep himself healthy while the rest of the team kind of comes in there and does the cleanup for him. So I really like this one on C.O.M.B.A.T. I mean, he's honestly, he's refilling his own health pretty fast, you know, even with him being in the danger zone like that. So C.O.M.B.A.T's one of the bots that I definitely approve of for this particular combat. Alright, so we got the last two that we want to look at. And so the last two I want to look at are Runabout and Scavenger. So I'm going to give Runabout the 4-star because kind of like I was saying with Flame War, Runabout primarily, from what I've seen, used for the sack strategy. So I'll give him the 4-star. And for me, I've actually got a pretty decent. I've had Scavenger at the 5-star for a while. I wasn't overly thrilled about him, not because his ability is bad or anything like that. It's just that he gets into trouble. I didn't want to put any combats on him because, I mean, other than the companion type combat bots. But now I started thinking about it, and when I started using it, this dude lasted on the battlefield for quite a long time. And so that's why I became interested when they made this combat bot, because one of the things I didn't want to do was lose my ability to stun when I'm using Scavenger. So I kind of just really started to play around with him a lot because I wanted to see if he was going to be good for me on the live server. Like I maxed him out on this test server. All right, but that's not going to do us any good. So I'll go ahead and knock that out real quick. I'll just drop Runabout up here. But you got the base of someone who probably quit the game up here. And you'll just look at Runabout in here doing this thing. And you can see the healing up there pretty clearly as he tries to take down HQ with Decepticon. Alright, so we'll actually try to go get on an actual base to try to go use Runabout and Scavenger. But yeah, man, so we'll do one more demonstration with these two, but I really want to highlight Scavenger on this one. Like, for me personally, I don't see this as something that I want to use on the sack bots as much. So for Flame War, Runabout, I mean, it's nice to have, but I'm not pressed about using that particular pairing. But for like C.O.M.B.A.T, didn't really show it too much in this particular test, but because of the decent health, Counterpunch was a really good one for me when I was just testing it out, and Bombshell was a really good one for me. So this is actually a good spot to use Runabout for the sack. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him over here to this auto cannon. Pop a couple of outposts. And you can see a leader goes in and goes after that decoy, so that's good. And I'm gonna actually get him out of here one more time before Deathsaurus shows up. And let him go after the decoy as well. Now here's the fun part for me. I'm gonna run Scavenger. Now in this particular layout, it's gonna be a little bit difficult because this layout does have walls protecting everything on the front, and it does have swoops flying around, but he spent some time on the decoys as well. But like, keep an eye on his health bar because he's fighting all these outposts. I'm going to drop another one of his fire attacks. Alright, we got Vector. Alright, so I let him get overrun by all those outpost bots, so I'll run him again actually. But yeah, like I said, obviously if I was running a real team, which I actually did, let me do that. Let me go run him with a variation of my war team and see what that looks like. because that's what I was actually doing on when I was doing some tests for myself. And that's where I had barricade. All right, you know what? That's fine. I'll put them in a place of where I did my test on barricade. And if you didn't see my last video on barricade, I'm actually got a series running right now for my weekly con highlight of underrated bots. And so he was the one that I picked for the warrior class. So I'll have a new one on Monday if anybody wants to take a look. I hadn't decided which class I'm gonna do yet, but I'll probably record that this weekend and then try to set that up for Monday. Alright, so we got Scavenger. Alright, so I add him with the rest of my team. I'll put him in the prime zone since that's where I typically run that team. Don't think that I left a sack bot in there. I'm just, like I said, I just kind of move some guys around in just different variations. We'll see how it goes. Alright, so I will bring Impactor out here to the corner. Just kind of show how Scavenger will look in a team and just try to clear out some of this front space. I'll actually drop Scavenger in here behind. Let him try to go use some of his special ability to try to soften up some of the defense up there and soften up those walls, because he's got a huge area of effect on when using his special ability. Alright, Impactor ran away from everyone. And look at Scavenger's health. And while he's in here in the team, he's got some help from his double healers. And he also is getting some of his healing beam to try to help him out. And he's holding up. He's holding up better than I'm used to seeing him without this combat. Obviously, it's a lot going on up here up front, but it's kind of keeping him. It's kind of keeping him in place a little bit. And then he finally went down. But if I were to go and use some of my normal strategies, probably would have held it up. Probably would have held up just fine, honestly. So I'll probably run him one more demonstration after this. But yeah, it's pretty good. Works pretty well with him. Let's check some stats on Scavenger and see what he looks like, since I do have him maxed out on this server. Now on the live server, I think I got him just under level 59. I just couldn't find the use for him like I wanted to, and I wasn't disappointed to get him out of the batch, but he didn't really fit into my plans for the war team I was building at the time. Oh, shoot, I was saying he was gaining, so he was just gaining health back naturally. Let me go actually apply the combat bot. So that's my bad. I put the 5-star on Runabout by accident. And then I'll run him. Now for him, I actually like to run, I think using this combat bot, this will be the person I'll probably actually use Alchemist with, just because he's going to spend most of his time just with normal attacks. And so we'll try that again. But yeah, so you know, you guys have to let me know what you think about this combat bot so far. Like I said, I know one of the bigger criticisms is they didn't shoot over walls, and that's a double-edged sword for me, honestly, because I feel like if every bot shoots over walls, it continues to make walls pretty irrelevant. So I think it's a delicate balance that you have to use when trying to create new combat bots, particularly when you try to go target a particular class like the scout class. Alright, so let's take a look at the difference in health this time for Scavenger. And yeah, it's holding pretty steady this go around, between having two healers back there and him having his heal beam. It's a big difference between how it was holding up last time. these guys are kind of just storming along. And yeah, Scavenger's holding up all right. You know, kind of similar setup where you have one of those, and shoot, Scavenger actually still ran off. So this is one of the complaints we had about the scouts, but he's holding up one-on-one against multiple defenses. So I'll go ahead and throw down, you know, his special ability, try to soften some stuff up, but he's healing himself just nicely with this power cool and this combat. So that's the pairing I really like. That's a pairing that's got me excited about the bot, because this is a bot that I've already got stashed in my toolbox, and he might save me in a lot of battles. So you know, I'll keep him as an option. He might not be my primary option, but I do got Alchemist, I think at level 18 or 19 right now, and I still, if I can pull this combat, you know, I'm gonna use him. So I'm gonna work on Scavenger this weekend. But I mean, like, he's still at pretty much full health, and he ran off and fought by himself in this particular case. So it tells me that Scout class is still gonna have that problem of potentially running away. But he's really putting that work in up there. Decepticon kind of helps him out on the tail end. And man, this guy's still out here hanging out full health, to the point where, you know, he was doing his own thing for a bit. So, but yeah, that's all I wanted to show you guys tonight. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, if you hadn't already. Like, running this particular video as a premiere so that I can actually engage you guys if you guys have had any questions throughout. So glad to have everybody just come check out the bot with me and everything, and just kind of just take a first look at this bot. But I enjoyed testing it. I don't think it's the answer for the scout class, but I think it's a really good start. So like I said, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, and if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. And I will also leave links to all my social media pages, to include my Discord server, where we had a lot of conversations just about things that's going on in the game, and a lot of times talking strategies and stuff like that. It's called Freezy's Deceptor Lab. I'll leave the link in the description of this video, in addition to my social media links. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, so on and so forth. But you know, other than that, I'll see you guys on Monday with the con highlight of the week, where we're going to look at another class of underrated bots. And other than that, I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.